excited to have with us. This is the 43rd Why Do Apply webinar. So we are live. We are selecting our 8th cohort of 43 North to join our current group of 59 portfolio companies going back to 2014. And what we're going to talk about today is, yes, we're going to talk about the application and how to make a good one and why you should apply and the benefits of 43 North. But we're also here to talk and share a little bit about these founders' personal stories and what their journey's been like, because that's what you guys can relate to. And then we can layer in there how 43 North helped them on their journeys. And so my name is Kevin Siskar. I am the Vice President of Portfolio and Selection at 43 North. We have a great team here of about 10, 11 people, all who support, help, and really guide our startups once they're in our family and our portfolio. So before we go any further, I want to take a minute to introduce our guests. So with us today, we have Dan Magnuszewski. He is the co-founder of ACV Auctions. They're a year 2 company from 2015. We have Dr. Tye and Courtney Caldwell. They're the co-founders of ShearShare from year 7, our most current cohort, selected in 2021. And Irfan Khan, he is the CEO of Circuit Clinical and co-founder. They're a year 6 company from 2019. And so I'm going to go in that order around the horn here real quick. If you guys each want to maybe do a 1-minute, introduction of yourselves, and that'd be great. So Dan, I'm going to throw it over to you first.
Sure. I'm Dan Magnuszewski. As Kevin mentioned, I'm one of the co-founders of ACV Auctions and served as CTO there from the first line of code until about a year ago. So yeah, background computer science, done some venture background. Last year I've been doing investing and advising of companies in Buffalo, but elsewhere. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dan. Courtney, I'm going to throw it over to you next.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. My name is Courtney Caldwell. I have the honor of being in business with my one and only best friend in the entire world, my husband, Dr. Tye. We're the creators of ShearShare, which is a mobile app that, in essence, is helping to keep our small businesses open. We fill empty salon and barbershop space on demand with licensed beauty and barbering professionals. And so we're helping to accelerate economic mobility in cities all around the world. We are part of year 7. So we've currently been here in Buffalo for 6 months and are loving it. If I could tell anyone anything, just hurry up and get here.
All right, awesome. And last but not least, Irfan, over to you.
Thanks, Kevin. Hey, everybody. Irfan Khan. I was a cardiologist by training, was doing that quite happily for a while. About 6 years ago, I left medicine to bring together the team that is Circuit. We're a clinical trials company, so we're going kind of across the country and providing tech-enabled services to bring clinical trial opportunities to everyone where they get their care. Been a lot of fun. We're a Y6 company, had tremendous amount of success with 43 North, and it's clearly, you can look at when we won in 2019 in the Y6 competition as kind of the inflection point for parabolic growth. So happy to share that story with you guys.
Awesome. And before we only have like 5 or 6 slides here. So before we get into like slides about 43 North, I'd love to maybe you guys could each quickly talk about, where your company was at before 43 North, kind of when you joined, when it was a fit, and how it helped to some regard. And so let's go reverse order to keep it fair. So Irfan, I'm gonna go back to you.
Yeah, I'll tell the story of application not from Y6 when we won, but from Y4 when we applied and made the semis, and we didn't make the finals after that presentation. And I remember being shocked at how dare they not pick us for the finals. And then in year 6 when we made the finals, I was like, oh my God, how could I possibly have thought we were ready for this thing 2 years ago? And so we were a 12 to 14 person company for that that classic kind of flat part of the startup journey for years, and not quite at product market fit, not quite at traction, but kind of hitting milestones and kind of people getting interested and able to do our pre-seed and our seed and kind of get the A ready and stuff. And then when you look at what happened after we won in 2019, it really did go kind of parabolic very quickly. It completely transformed our access to capital and kind of our awareness in the markets. We were able to draft off that. We were able to leverage sort of being in 43 North as an element of getting into J Labs, which is the big Johnson & Johnson accelerator. It led to the kind of capital access that led to 2 big strategic partnerships in our Series B, raised a $7.5 million Series B, really not that long after, maybe 8 months after getting into 43 North. And then that really did set up a year of accelerated growth. We kind of got outside of the region in terms of our footprint, and that led to our $29 million Series C to start this year. So, in addition to that, it led to being able to bring together a really expert team. So to kind of grow our own team into their next level of development, but also to bring in people from our industry who are experts and who kind of liked what we were doing, but weren't really sure, like, is this thing really going to catch on and make it? But it was really 43 North. It was our Series B that suddenly told people that, oh no, they've got the right partners, they've got the right capital access, they've got the right brand, and all of that came together to us being able to build the next version of the team. So, the numbers are, I think we were under 20 employees when we won at 43 North. I think all of us fit on the stage pretty easily at the end of that celebration, and we just crossed 100 employees. So it's been a pretty busy 18 months.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's super insightful to everyone thinking about applying now. And I love that you highlighted that you applied and didn't get in, and then 2 years later made it. Same thing with Kangaroo Time, right? Like, it happens. Dan, I'm gonna go to you next. What's your story with ACV?
Sure. Yeah. So we had launched in June of 2015. Where we were at in terms of the company, I think we had probably 10 people in total. So the company had been in business for a quarter or two, and we had some revenues, we had some traction, we had product in the market, and our business is really territory by territory. So it's not just something you can flip on. ACV was selling used vehicles, so there was a physical asset that's in a location. So being from Buffalo, that was kind of our initial launch market. We launched, we launched there, had some success, but for us, as we were applying, and really when 43 North was, the event was happening, we had started expanding out into another region as well. So at that point in time, we were really trying to say, okay, we've done it here. Can we go out and do it elsewhere? Can we kind of prove we proved the model was working, the product had some success, but could we replicate it in other markets outside of where we were? So that was kind of the phase we were in. Going through 43 North, was great in terms of adding, for a young company, it added validity to what we were doing, who we were. So it helped open doors from the marketing side. I think we had some really good articles in New York Times or Washington Post, a whole bunch of different publications nationally. So that really helped out. So, that's kind of how we got in, and, it's definitely helped us as we've been, kind of get moving and get through that initial phase of growth where it was, okay, this thing seems like it's working. How do we take kind of that second step and really start scaling it? So the 43 North stage was like right at the beginning of us starting to scale.
All right, awesome. I think that's super helpful context. And you guys actually IPO'd last year as well. So congrats on that and bringing it full circle. All right, Tye and Courtney, we've got you back here. So really quickly, tell us about your company at a super high level, and then what stage were you at when you applied and joined 43 North?
Mm-hmm. So again, ShearShare, people in the industry actually nicknamed us Airbnb. The stage of company that we were in before 43 North was that we were really focused on building out the engineering arm of the organization. We had started ShearShare with an MVP that had been built by a third-party engineering firm. And so when we landed here in Buffalo, we were actually introduced to our now CTO, which has been an amazing experience to have that kind of headship within the organization. And it makes sense, right? Because we are a tech company. But revenues were, of course, a little bit lower than they are today. The number of localized hosts that we have in this region of the country has nearly doubled. And that's in no large part to the hard work of our team, but to the interactions and the relationship building that we've been able to take advantage of being on the East Coast. We're very happy to be a part of this organization. And again, it is one of the few places or accelerators that we've experienced where it focuses really on like the whole person. So if you're looking for that kind of support for your startup and where you are in your journey, this is it for you.
We really liken it to Silicon Valley. It's very serendipitous community environment. And, you have like-minded individuals. I think one of the things that we like about Buffalo, a lot of people think it's complacent. You have great communities here, but at the end of the day, the communities are close-knit. And so you can reach out to people like Irfan and Dan and just go to them, and then come to 43 North, people like yourself, Kevin, and say, hey, this is what we need, this is what we want. And the great thing about us when we applied for 43 North is that we were already going through a fundraising round. So to be able to mesh all that together when we came to Western New York and then get the likes of Chloe Capital, EST, it's been super amazing that we've been here. But it's just the relationships as a whole, talking to people like, Dan and Irfan when we need to go through certain stages, because we just, close our seed round in our first investment there. Just having those relationships and going through those board meetings, all those first are sometimes the hardest, but meeting people and just talking to them and getting past a lot of those moments where you kind of have a little bit of despair and nervousness. It's good to have that community behind you.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you guys. And for those of you here, I hope that gives you a sense of these companies, these founders, and what everyone is up to. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So who is 43 North? So we are a seed stage accelerator. We invest $5 million a year, and over the last 7 years, we've invested $35 million into 59 companies. That's resulted in these 59 companies raising over $1 billion of venture capital, creating billions of dollars of market value. And we always do this with an eye to diversity. So we actually, our portfolio data is 18% female founders and also 27% founders of color as well. So what does 43 North offer? So we offer investment. We invest $5 million, and this year we'll be investing in 5 companies. So each company will get $1 million investment in exchange for a 5% equity warrant. And so the best part of this is that it really lets us focus, right? Unlike other seed stage funds that are maybe doing, raising a fund and trying to deploy it in 2 years and doing, 40 to 50 deals, we're really focused on, the current companies in our cohort. We meet with them monthly. We figure out how we can help them. We give them workspace. So picture is Seneca 1. This is one of the buildings in downtown Buffalo. We are located here in the tower. It is fully renovated as of 2 years ago, so all brand new office space. And one of the cool things about this office space is it is part of the Startup New York program. And so everyone who operates in it is exempt as a corporation from New York State taxes. And all future hires are also exempt from New York State income tax. And so it's essentially, an 8% bonus / annual raise you're giving to everyone who works for you versus some other company anywhere in New York State. So that's a nice little perk and really can help with recruiting. We also offer mentorship. So we pair everyone with a mentor at the start of the year. And we also then do fireside chats monthly as well. So we are focused on programming. That programming is typically dictated by the founders in the current cohort. So for example, yesterday we had one on scaling and hiring, building your team. Previously, we had one on OKRs and annual planning, fundraising, all the aspects of building, the various departments of your business. As a lot of the companies are transitioning from, maybe founder-led sales to standing up their sales organization and creating the scaling of the leadership and really, starting to scale that product market fit up. So we also offer support. We take a platform approach, which is a venture capital term that some people might not be familiar with, but essentially thinking about how we support all of our companies with whatever they're doing, right? So if they are fundraising, we have an investor network managed by Shannon McCabe on our team that can help connect them with investors that we've been on the road meeting the last few years. If they need help with hiring, we have an initiative run by Christian Gaddis called Forge Buffalo that can actually pair them with a recruiter on our team and help them fill the roles they need, find the talent, et cetera. And so we're always thinking about how we can strategically help our companies really, while they're with us for that year, spend time with them, get to know them as not just companies, but to Tye's point, like individuals, humans, right? Like being a founder is hard. It's sometimes lonely. It's sometimes you need someone to call at 9:30 p.m. on a Friday, and hopefully you feel comfortable calling us at that point. And so that is essentially what 43 North offers. Do any of you guys have any experiences or firsthand accounts of maybe something on this list, aside from just like the initial investment that might be worth telling a story on? Or
Yeah, I mean, I can think of dozens. I think the marketing piece and the brand development piece isn't on here. You heard Dan mention it earlier too. I think that's a really huge piece of this. And I think there's that marketing / brand element, but then there's also this kind of help with public relations and kind of really thinking through your corporate communications. Look, we're heading into a very interesting year for startups next year, right? In terms of capital access and valuation and terms and all the rest of that stuff. So I think having a bunch of people at 43 North who've been there, done that, and can help you think about, what's the right approach is really helpful. But I can't say enough about the great work that Maura Devlin's done with Circuit over the last couple of years in terms of positioning us, getting us coverage in really interesting spaces. That stuff adds up and it makes a big difference.
And also, I'll say, 43 North has a great banking relationship with M&T. I think what we find out most is that, they are very, engaging, and they want to help, they want to support, and they're connected. So I think when we work with Bill, does our business, but also, when you're moving founders here and they're moving their teams here, they're going to need personal help as well. So just getting to know them on the personal side of banking as well as business, that's what's been so good for us as far as getting that help that we needed.
Yeah, and especially as you guys heard Irfan mention, this looming recession, right? We have no idea, how it's going to play out for all of our startups. We just all want to be sure to survive, and to be able to walk into, a local bank like M&T and say, hey guys, how can we, expand and extend our runway, has really been great support. And then personally, I would say something that, I would hate to see on this list, but it is on the list as a part of the journey as founders and just being, someone who's working in startups in America, is that when Buffalo unfortunately had the racist mass shooting, and again, not from anyone from Buffalo, we all know the gentleman drove in, or the guy drove in to do that act, but seeing the community come together in full support of, again, what it needs to be able to stand up against, hatred in that way, was very, I want to say comforting. I'm almost like going to shed a tear, but again, the focus on, not just what do you need for your startup, but what do you need as the whole person, is something that you don't always get anywhere. And so again, I would hate to see that as one of the bullets on the screen, but it is something that's very real.
Yeah, the one piece I would say just around the investment, there is the initial investment, but I think the other great thing is being the network of investors that 43 North has built over the years, and getting in front of them and having those warm intros always helps greatly. So that's kind of an ongoing, it's not just the first dollars in, but ideally be able to connect you to your next round of funding.
Yeah, there's a ton of validation that comes from being part of 43 North, that's for sure. We've raised it's got to be it's almost $10 million over the last three rounds or so in Buffalo, in Western New York. So there's a lot of there's a true ecosystem here, and 43 North is kind of the jewel in the crown. So there's a lot to be said for it. I mean, there used to be, before, Dan comes from the generation that actually built a company before the ecosystem. He is actually part of how the ecosystem came to be, which we've happily inherited and taken full advantage of. So, between Launch New York and all the rest of them that support, the Western New York Impact Fund, there's a lot of funds that have evolved to support the mission. And 43 North companies are really well positioned to be able to access that capital too. So there's a lot to be said here. Plus, what you'll find about Buffalo is it's, the old, saw that 6 degrees of separation or whatever. It's like Buffalo is a very large room. Like if 20 or 30 people who are interested and involved in startups, you're connected to the entire ecosystem very quickly. And 43 North is the hub for that too. So that's been a huge help.
And Irfan, I definitely second that. There's no 6 degrees of separation here. I think it's 2, maybe 1.5.
So true. That's a good thing.
So my advice is always act accordingly. Act accordingly. Like you're going to see these people at Wegmans, you're going to see them at the gas station.
That's right. Dropping your dog off at the groomers. Yeah, all those things.
Awesome. Well, I think those are all great, great anecdotes. We're getting a lot of questions piling in here, so we're going to do Q&A at the end, but I'm going to pick one question here. Can you guys talk a little bit about this is a little separate, but part of 43 North is we do require companies to move to Buffalo. we do require them to, move the CEO, 50% of the team, and locate here. And part of that is because of the things on this page, right? Like, we can only have an unfair advantage with you as a portfolio company if we can help you, right? And so having you in person, having you here with us is a big part of that. Qualifying for the Startup New York tax credits requires in person as well. And so maybe you guys could talk a little bit about, remote work, what you're thinking at a non-43 North level, like what you're doing with your own teams, but then also, maybe the benefits of your experience being in person or not. I'm just going to candidly throw it to you guys and raw thoughts on what you think about this and how other people should be thinking about it.
Well, I'll go simply because we know we are the last cohort, as winners. I think it's great to be in office. When we were remote, we didn't know any better, and that's what we started out as. That's how the company was built. So I think that now that we've actually got past the reality of we have to move to this city and build our company, and I think it's been so much better for us because we get so much stuff done faster, quicker. Is that in person? It's easier to really rack off ideas. Build a team. Build that camaraderie, build the morale. It's just been easier for us. So I don't think it was a bad thing. So being part of 43 North and building your company here, I don't think there should be any hesitation or apprehension.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're thinking about, as we did, like, oh my goodness, we're moving from McKinney, Texas to Buffalo, New York. The first thing people say is the weather. How are you guys going to deal with the changing climate? And honestly, we always say, like, yeah, the weather can be cold in the winter, but the people are so warm. And so it's very rare that you get that kind of Southern hospitality on the East Coast, at least the places that we have traveled to. But 43 North makes it so easy to pick up your entire life and move across the country. I mean, it's not just, what do you need when you get here, but it is, what kind of hobbies do you enjoy? What types of team members do you want to feel the culture of your organization? How do you want to grow the company? Do you need a place for your kids, or do you want a home or an apartment? I keep going back to dog grooming, but that's one of the things that, again, it was so very endearing, was that they asked you repeatedly over and over again, how can we be the most helpful as you are completely picking up your life and moving to another part of the country? And it's been quite easy, I would say. I mean, the transition for us has not been a difficult one at all. And I think that's because the community literally comes around you and gives you like the biggest hug.
I mean, I know a lot of people come from their respective places. Like, we came from Texas, we had our creature comforts, but I think that if you do not bring your city where you come from here, you can really embrace Buffalo as a whole. So just really forget about where you're coming from. Don't try to bring any of those things here in the mindset. Create a whole new mindset, and whatever creature comforts you're looking for, the team at 43 North and the people that they know and the relationships they have, they're going to make it comfortable for you. Yeah. I think that's what really allowed us to immerse ourselves into this city.
For sure.
The other thing I'm going to expand on the question a little bit before it gets to you, Dan and Irfan, is we're getting some other follow-ups while Tye and Courtney are talking here about they have kids, they have family, right? Like they like the quality of life aspect, which I think you guys did a good job kind of touching on. Family, I mean, it's a commitment of beyond just a company, right? It's a commitment to your own company and requiring a lot of personal family sacrifice. So if you could touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have to move, but yeah, I did have, kids and family as I was going through this process. But, it's one of those things that, you got another variable you got to deal with. And, but yeah, I mean, just living in the area, it is a high quality of life. I mean, housing's affordable, getting around is easy. It's just, life is just, it's easy to do all the regular things, where I think other cities, it's hard to, it's much harder, especially when you're trying to build a business, whether it's getting around, whether it's owning property, getting your kids into schools, like all of this stuff is just very easy, and kind of frees you up to, essentially focus on the hard things of building your business and not just trying to get through your everyday.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a parent of young kids, some of the best public schools in the state are in the suburbs of Buffalo, both the north and south towns, and literally some of the best private schools for high school are here, and they cost a fraction. I'm from Toronto originally, so Canisius is a good example. Boys High School, my son went there. That's maybe a fifth of the cost of it would be to send him to an equivalent school in Toronto or in New York City and stuff. So cost of living, and it's an unbelievable education, right? Same thing with my daughters. with their local so the schooling systems here are just fantastic, and they're really affordable. I mean, the public schools are terrific, and the private schools are world class. So there's that side of it. I've already picked Buffalo twice. When I finished my cardiology training, I could have practiced anywhere. And I came to Buffalo because I was from Toronto and I wanted to be a little closer to home. And it was just a great decision for that 15 years. And then when I started Circuit, our first venture check came from a team in Denver, and they had already kind of laid out there's a healthy life sciences community in Denver. And I was actually looking for houses when Startup New York approached us and said, hey, look, we think you should keep the company here. And here's this program where there's tax breaks for you as a company, but also for your employees for recruiting talent. And you know, there was things like 43North just kind of coming on the scene. I think I'd watched Dan and Joe and Jack win at 43North when ACV won. And so I was like, yeah, maybe we'll stay. And we sort of presented everything in terms of the offer to our board. And they were like, better to stay there and be like a bigger fish in a relatively growing pond than come to Denver and be just one of a million startups kind of trying to figure it out. And, you know, I can tell you that, you know, having raised my kids here and all the rest of that stuff, this is one of the best places. I mean, I've lived all over the country and all over Canada, and this is absolutely just a great place to be. I will say that, you know, startups are hard enough as they are. So anything you can do to reduce kind of the cost of living pressures and the kind of what does it take to get your kids, if you have kids, where you want them to be, this is one of the easiest places to live, I think, in the country.
Oh, I was muted. Awesome. Thank you so much, Irfan and Dan and everyone. So a few other highlights of Buffalo here, and I skipped a slide, so I'm going to go back one in a minute here. But you know, so Buffalo's within 500 miles of, you know, most of the U.S. population. Tons of logistics facilities, hour flight to New York, Chicago, Boston, Philly, and we're super close to Canada. So it's actually, if you have a logistics business or any sort of, you know, real world packaging, it's a great place to be geographically for shipping. Tons of students. We're an hour and a half from Waterloo, which most of Silicon Valley and New York City recruits engineering talent out of, and the cost of living is a little bit lower. One of the questions we got here, if we're a virtual company, if we're fully remote, do we have to move our team? The answer is yes. 51% of the team and the CEO do need to relocate to Buffalo. So just answering some questions as we go here. I'm gonna go back a slide here, and I'm gonna talk a little about what we look for. So 43North is a seed stage accelerator. We invest $1 million. We're really, you know, at seed stage, you don't have zero product market fit, but you probably don't have 100%. You're onto something. You're figuring it out. You're close to perfecting it, so you can start to maybe scale. And so we believe in founders, right? Like, great founders will figure it out. And so betting on the right people, betting on the right team is really, you know, how product market fit gets discovered. And so we're super heavy on team. We do want to see that, you know, you have a product in market, there is some traction with revenue, you're getting good customer feedback, you know, and you're maybe kind of at the start of that. You don't need to have millions of dollars in ARR, but you don't have $0 in ARR. If you're pre-revenue, maybe on the consumer side, and you can prove that you have a lot of, you know, eyeballs or some sort of other form of traction that's valuable for the space that you're in. Life science startups might have a little, you know, different kind of traction than revenue in the early stages. That's all great too. So it's really just about demonstrating traction, right? That you're putting yourself out there, it's being perceived well, and you're doing that. Product it exists. You know, people can touch, click, feel it. It's not mock-up still. So thinking about how that's out in the world. And synergies. I mean, a big part is that we do require you to move to Buffalo. You move into our office, we work with you for a year. And so having, you know, a strong plan for why you want to be here. And it's fine if you don't want to be here. There's lots of money out there right now. So really figuring out how you can have a synergy with Buffalo, either with the region, or maybe you have friends or family, or you've heard things about being here. But having an actual Buffalo plan is actually something we look for in the application. And so that's definitely something you should think about putting time into in the application. Does anyone want to add anything on this slide? All right, we'll keep moving here.
I was going to just say
Okay.
real quick, Kevin, I think the passion, like if I just look at our cohort and even just Irfan and Dan, like the way that you guys have a really special sense of like digging deep into the founders. Like passion is not like the best word that I can come up with right now, but you guys really focus hard on, you know, the jockey versus the horse. And I appreciate that. I think we see that pretty consistently throughout all the founders, at least in our year 7 cohort.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you guys. I'm just reading one more question here. One of the questions on the Buffalo, does the company have to be incorporated in New York? So your actual incorporation can be anywhere. If you're versed in startups, I would say you should be a Delaware C Corp. If you plan to fundraise or take money from investors over an LLC or some other structure, setting up that way is incredibly cheap. You can use things like Stripe Atlas to do it for $400, and fixing it later is incredibly costly. And so think about how you can get that right from the start. Try to be a Delaware C Corp if you can. Most of people start as LLCs or S Corps and switch later, but that was one of the questions. And so you don't have to be incorporated in New York. I would recommend Delaware C Corp in Delaware. And one of the other processes while we're on the what we look for slide is, what is the process? And so step 1 is fill out a written application. Those are due July 8th, and you can apply on our website, 43north.org. From there, what we're going to do is essentially we have a community of venture capital judges that are going to look at those applications with us. We are going to score them, grade them, review them, and we will select a subset of those companies to pitch us over video over Zoom in August. From there, we will review those again, collect some diligence docs, and then we will pick the up to 15, 20 companies in October that we will fly out to Buffalo to come pitch live at Shea's, which is a Broadway theater downtown in front of 3,000 people live. And it's always an amazing experience for everyone in the audience and live on stage. So, and then from there, we'll be selecting the 5 investments that we will be making this year. And then those companies will move in with us come January 2023 and occupy our office and work with us for a year. So that is a quick level on the process. And what that process has yielded is some early returns, right? So 43 North is not that old. We didn't run the year during COVID, so we're in our 8th year, but you know, the portfolio is still fairly young, and we do have some returns. And so thank you to Dan for proving that out with the ACV IPO in March 2020. Co-investors along with 43 North companies like Bread and Butter, where Tye and Courtney just were, Bessemer, Tribeca, Rise to the Rest, Iconic. And our companies have created almost 3,000 jobs globally as well. And so I don't know if you guys need to, I don't know, you got anything to say on this slide? I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of other investors as well. And, you know, one thing we've found is investors don't need to be located in Buffalo for them to invest in Buffalo. And actually a lot of the big cities are the big investors, you know, the Bessemers and Bain and all these others they're always asking me like who the next ACV is to invest in. And they like getting into these, you know, second tier markets where there's not a lot of other investors. But I mean, we've raised over $350 million from investors, and it's never been a problem. They actually like that we're in Buffalo, especially when they see the cost of operating the business and things like that. So that would be the only thing I add to that.
One of the other things I'll add to this slide, maybe is I'll toss to a question to Dr. Tye Courtney or Irfan, is like, well, actually, you guys, Dr. Tye and Courtney, you can't answer this, but what happens after the first year, right? So you're done with the first year, 43 North. Do we throw you to the curb and kick you out, or what happens?
I'll take that one. No, I think we've been just incredible. I mean, it's a real sign of kind of how 43 North works. And we've been a part of some really great, like world-class incubators, but there's nothing like, I mean, 43 North is home all the way through. And so when COVID happened, we had just moved in, I think, when the first wave hit. And so then the offices were closed for a good long window. And there's something to be said for culture, and there's something to be said for being in the room. We're hybrid now by design, but our team in Buffalo comes into the office. There's no mandate. We don't have a policy. People like being around each other. They like being in the building. You know, you're looking at the views here. They're incredible. And 43 North gave us an extra year. I mean, it was really great because we were trying to figure out what to do. And we were stuck gapped kind of between our Series B and our Series C, trying to figure out, do we take on the expense of really having our own office and all? It became very tricky for how long it was taking us to get our C closed. And 43 North bent over backwards to sort of say, hey, look, that's not the kind of decision you guys should be spending a lot of time on. Like, let's just figure out, we can solve for space and all the rest of that. You guys will have to be accommodating in terms of all of it. But I mean, I can't say enough about it. I mean, and candidly, everything else is sort of in position too. So again, having been part of 4 other accelerators as part of our journey, and then being part of 43 North, our parabolic growth is just drawn off that line. And I will say, since he's on the call, and I know he hates being flattered, you know, we talk about mentoring, right? We were looking to transform over this last year into an clinical informatics company. And Dan was incredibly helpful, just thinking through, how do we even think about like hiring our CTO? What are we looking for in terms of skill sets, helping us source local talent on our side. And then when we had other people from outside kind of start to apply in, and we had something like, I think we had 50 applications for that one position to kind of build the product leadership and the informatics leadership. Dan and a bunch of the ecosystem tech leaders just made themselves instantly available to look at the job description, to advise, describe how they structured ACV, describe how they've structured, you know, Eric Reich over at Campus Lab, same sort of thing. So there are a lot of accelerators, and there are a lot of alumni of accelerators, and they kind of conveniently forget there are alumni of these accelerators and they benefited from them. 43 North doesn't work like that. It's, you know, everybody's got my cell phone, Dan's is readily available. It's like there's a group of people who are actively going to try to help you succeed. You still got to do the work, but at least you're not doing it by yourself.
And let me say this, Irfan,
go ahead.
Thanks, Kevin, because Irfan is not going to toot his own horn either. But first of all, I can't imagine Circuit Clinical not being in the office. Like they kind of surround the ShearShare office, and just being able to pop over and say, hey, I have a question about XYZ has been super helpful. But there have been many, many nights, like countless nights, where we're all up there maybe a little bit later than we should be. And Irfan, we see him about to head home, and we'll stop him in the hallway. And just want to say thank you again, Irfan, for helping us get through our very first board meeting. And we have a stack of books from Irfan still that every time I turn the page, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is the answer I was looking for. And so again, there's just something that's kind of serendipitous that happens, but this is a different type of accelerator, and you won't feel it or understand it until you get here.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I love that. And Irfan is still here on the floor. So we also, you know, space-wise, we don't kick companies out after a year. Kangaroo Time is still here. It's more companies
teenager who won't leave the house. You know, we just keep kind of hanging around, finding reasons.
You guys will outgrow us before anyone is told to leave. Exactly. All right. Well, I think this is our last slide here. And so, thinking back, Dan, this will be harder for you because it was a bit ago. But like thinking back to your application, right? Like, what advice would you have for, you know, the almost 200 people listening here on how they could apply successfully? What to focus on? You know, I think I'll lead it off by saying, you know, be direct, be concise. Don't try to muddy the waters with jargon. Like the simpler, more cleaner, concise way you can explain your business, the better. Check your numbers, then check them again, and you know, have a clear Buffalo plan. Show that you're in it to win it. I'll toss it over to you three. Dan, we'll start with you because you got the longest time ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is just, you know, really tell the story around what is unique about your business. What's that problem you're solving? Why are you the one to solve it, not other people? You know, show some traction, show some, you know, that this thing is working. But I think, you know, start with the problem and start with, you know, why you're doing this thing. And, you know, obviously as through that storytelling, it's when you're solving problems, when you're, solving inefficiencies, there's a way to make money from that, right? And so that leads into, you know, not only am I solving the problem, but I'm building, you know, a really unique, successful business around it. And I think that's, you know, all of that needs to be kind of encapsulated in, you know, what you're presenting. You know, you could just go deep in numbers and projections and forecasts, but, you know, it's all made up and you have no idea. So I think it's focusing on, you know, what have you done and what are you going to do? And how does 43 North help you get to where you want to go? I think that's the key.
Yeah,
It was so long ago, I forgot what our thing was, but I remember being very stressful trying to run a business. and do the application and the interviews, and getting very frustrated with that. So my advice would be to just kind of suck it up and get through it. But yeah, it was a little while ago. I think it was about 7 years ago now. So.
Yeah, I'll say that this for sure, because everybody who goes through the application process comments on it, right? Like it's long and it takes some energy. There's nobody on this side of the application who even remembers kind of what that effort was, and certainly would be like, my God, like that was, it's among the best ROI you'll have for your time. And none of us are that busy. And it's like, no, for what you get, the process is deliberately looking for certain kinds of companies, certain kind of commitments that have to really be authentic and sincere. You know, I mean, same old question comes up every time. Do we really need to move to Buffalo? Do we really need to base our team there? I can tell you that having sat through the dinners and met the other teams and stuff, the ones that get selected are the ones that are authentically interested in the entire experience. So that's something to just do some soul searching and maybe save yourself some time. But the other thing I'll say is that I just got this advice recently, which is that with the pitch, it's also got to be ambitious, right? Like you should be trying to build a big company and that does interesting, cool things. And so those are the two things that kind of jump out.
I'm going to second what Dan and Irfan said. You have to be genuinely authentic and sincere. And the process of the application, even when we were going through it, it was long. But what they're looking for is what they really pick in the winners. Yeah. So you really don't even know what you're going through until you actually get here and say, okay, they went through the same process. I see why they're the winners. I see why they're here. And one of the things that we realize is that they're looking at things that you don't even think they're looking for. That's genuity, authenticity, sincerity. Can you fit this city? You have to come with an impact. Can you impact what this city is bringing? Just really forget what you think you know and just come in here and be yourself, which is really what we see that all the other companies have in their characteristics as well. So I think at the end of the day, they have done what they're doing the right way, and is no rhyme and reason for us to figure it out. It's just what they're looking for.
Yeah. I'd say 2 words of advice. Give yourself that was good, babe. Give yourself plenty of time to complete that exercise. Like Irfan said, it's not something you're going to be able to sit down at a computer and within 5 minutes kind of kick out. So whatever you think it's going to take you for planning that and completing that application, maybe double that, and give yourself plenty of grace for that exercise. And then secondly, something that one of our investors, Arlen Hamilton, said a long time ago, still sticks with me today. And I think about it every time, someone asks something about, how can I kind of highlight myself as a founder when I'm filling out a particular application? And it is these words. She said, you have to be uniquely you so that the people who are looking for you can find you. So this is your opportunity to highlight the strength of your company, your team, what you've been building, your uniqueness. And I promise you, 43 North is looking for you guys. So
hugs.
So silly.
No, I think that's great. And I think, Tye, we've talked about this before, right? Like even the benefit of doing this and putting the work in once, you're through from 500 startups and other stuff, like you reuse it all, right? Like you use it with other investors, it's really just part of the process. And so, awesome. Well, we have maybe 1 or 2 more questions here, but we are at the end. And so if anyone does have any questions, you can email us at applications@43north.org, or myself, Kevin at 43north.org, or Shannon at 43north.org. But some of the questions we still have, I'll leave this up while we do questions, is do we help with hiring? And so I mentioned this briefly before, but we have this Armed Forge Buffalo that is essentially a job board for all the portfolio companies. They can post openings, and then we have people on our team that will actually help fill those roles. And so in addition to whatever recruiting the company is doing with ZipRecruiter or Indeed, you kind of have this always working in the background for you. And maybe you guys could tell an example of how Forge Buffalo or something has helped you with hiring.
Yeah, I'm sitting across from 3 people actually, who've been recommended by 43 North to work at Circuit, and years later that's turned out great. So yeah, I think the system's really good, because part of it is 43 North getting to know what you guys are looking for and what's your culture and how does it work and who's a good fit. That's part of it. Forge is great. And then I think that part of it is that the ecosystem is cycling through people too, right? So a person may be like, oh, I'm done with that part of that particular journey on a startup. I'd like to try something else. And they're already aware of all your teams. You know, our jobs are all sort of posted, you know, internally. People talk all the time. It's, you know, the floor is small and we run into each other every day. So, you know, there's a lot of that going on too. So there's been some happy cross-pollination, and certainly 43 North has facilitated a lot of hires.
Same. We really appreciate the outreach for Christian's team over at Forge Buffalo. You know, we're the kind of founders, as many of you probably are as well, where we don't just wait after we post a job opening and hope that people just reply. We actually go out there and get it. And so 43 North has been with us along the ride, introducing us to candidates over at University of Buffalo, also Buffalo State. There are many universities here in the area that have amazing talent graduating every semester. And so those folks are looking for ways to, you know, jump into tech or try something, you know, different that their parents didn't try, and they have amazing skill sets. And so to be able to take advantage of helping to upskill, you know, someone, or to take advantage of their huge breadth of skills has been really helpful for us. But we first started by just asking simple questions of the 43 North team. They introduced us to Forge Buffalo, and we've hired at least four people of our team members here in Buffalo through those connections. So
yeah, I'll second that. You know, the key thing is just use your relationships. You know, you got to look at this time that you're going to be, if you're a winner, as a time where you got to grow, and every day is profound. So we look at it like this: it's a year, a commitment. You got to work backwards, and from thinking backwards, day one, you got to hit the ground running. You got to make the mistakes you need to make, do the things you need to do, connect with the people, connect with your cohort, connect with 43 North, connect with people like us if we're here, you know, in the office, and ask us questions. But also take the time to, when you reflect and go backwards, take those first 3 months, that first quarter, to really be impactful. Ask the questions. If there's anything you need, they're there for you. They want to make sure you're dating. Y'all both have a reciprocal relationship. Go in there and ask them for the things that you need. They want to know. They want to become better themselves, and they can't become better unless you communicate and talk to them. And then take that next quarter and say, hey, you know what are the things that I need now for this next quarter, as you're growing, as you're figuring things out? Because by the time you get to around July, August, you know, a lot of that dating is wearing off. So they're saying, okay, well, you haven't come to me for anything now. So, you know, maybe you don't need anything. So take the opportunity so they can get to know you. You're getting to know them. They're getting to know you through all the trials and tribulations, and through all the steps and the processes that it takes to get to know a company as you're building, you know, as you're building a team, as you're growing. All those things make a difference. But 43 North is there for you the whole step of the way through that process and longer.
beyond, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I love those answers. I'm going to have you guys, I think we got through most of the questions here. I'm going to have you guys give some closing words here in a minute. But before we do, applications are due July 8th, so Friday, July 8th at 12 p.m. So keep that in mind. It is a week from this Friday, so it is going to creep up fast with the holiday weekend. So be sure to submit that application on Friday, July 8th. Also, I saw in the chat that people were asking if this will be reposted. We are going to post this webinar live on up on our website, so you can rewatch it later. And then if there's anything we didn't cover, or you still have questions on, in the application, there's a contact us button. You can, once you start an application, get in there and click that, or feel free to just email us applications@43north.org. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today and share your experiences with everyone here on the webinar. Any closing words for the founders in attendance? It doesn't have to be 43 North related. It could be, could be sage founder advice, whatever you want.
Well, I will say congratulations to everybody out there who's building companies, right? Like, this is going to be a really challenging 18-month window. Great companies are built in environments like this, right? And so I'm sure you've all seen the YC advice that was posted to all of social and everything like that. So this will be a window where it's going to be a little tough for us, right? We've had 4 good years of real headwinds and valuations and all the rest of it. Now it'll be the other game, right? And so I would argue that in that more difficult environment, going together is really helpful. So there is a lot of work involved with the application. I'm looking back at it now. I think we filled ours out over 2 days to make sure we got it all kind of correct and positioned ourselves correctly. But I can personally assure you that it's been well worth it. So it's always tough to know how to balance your time. I can suggest that 43 North is a great use of your time, and hopefully we'll see you in Buffalo soon.
I'll definitely say, if you're thinking about the process of applying, think about being here. Don't just think about applying, think about being a winner and how that jump is going to be. And to be a startup founder is grueling, it's hard, but you have to stay focused and just reach out to people like us, even if you're not here yet, just to ask questions, but also just continue to be impactful. You can't do anything but that, and you chose this journey and enjoy it the whole step of the way.
Yeah, we hope to see everyone in Buffalo. I guess my parting words would be, as a startup founder, there always feels like there's a scarcity everywhere, a scarcity or a lack of people, money, resources, time, sleep, energy. So no matter what you choose to do for your startup to help it to grow, make the huge impact that I know everyone's expecting you to do, just go where you're celebrated. And that energy will find you.
Hugs.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I think that's great advice. To Irfan's point of like 2 days for the application, you can always start it. So you can start it today if you want to take a look at those questions, save your progress at any point and finish it later. Awesome. July 8th, applications are due. Copy of this recording will be up on the website. And one last time, I don't know if this is a feature in Zoom, but can we like clap or do like a round of applause for you guys as panelists? So thank you guys. Have a great day. Take care, everyone. And we will hopefully see you soon in Buffalo.
Good luck.
Bills Mafia.